Some people only remember life with the internet. Others remember life before it. But there is a small group of people who remember the exact moment everything changed. If you were born in the late 1970s or early 1980s, you did not just grow up. You transitioned. And that transition shaped how you think, connect, and adapt in ways most people never notice. You are not fully Gen X. You are not fully millennial. You grew up analog. You became an adult in a digital world. And that timing matters more than people realize. You remember writing phone numbers on paper, not saving them, writing them. You remember waiting all week for one TV episode, missing it, and realizing it was simply gone. You remember passing notes in class, folding them into tiny squares, hoping the teacher would not see. You remember calling a house phone and hoping someone picked up. You remember that dial-up tone, that blue MSN login screen, that Nokia ringtone you still recognize. Instantly, you remember burning CDs, labeling them with a marker, skipping tracks manually. You made plans without reminders. You showed up without confirmation. You waited. Then, almost overnight, everything flipped. Cell phones, text messages, Friendster, MySpace, Facebook. The world did not slowly evolve. It flipped. Most generations grow up inside one stable environment. You did not. Your childhood belonged to one world. Your early adulthood belonged to another. And your identity was forming right in between. The part of the brain responsible for planning, emotional regulation, and adaptability continues developing into the mid-20s. That means when technology completely rewired daily life, you were still in a highly flexible stage. Young enough to learn fast, old enough to remember what came before. That combination creates a rare kind of psychological flexibility. You learned how to adapt without losing your sense of self. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. You can sit in silence without panicking. You can wait without immediately needing stimulation. You can have a full conversation without checking your phone every minute. But you also do not feel threatened by new technology. You do not freeze when things change. You move between worlds, analog and digital, comfortably. You remember what it felt like to be unreachable. Not ignored, not offline on purpose, just unreachable. No one knew where you were. And that was normal. You were outside, at a friend's house, on your bike. No tracking, no live location, just trust. That kind of childhood teaches something subtle. You learn to rely on yourself. You learn to solve small problems alone. You learn to tolerate uncertainty. Those skills do not disappear. They become part of who you are. You grew up in a time when mistakes faded, bad haircuts, awkward phases, embarrassing moments. They lived in stories, not databases. Your memories could soften over time. They could change, shape. They could become kinder. That shapes how you relate to your past. It also shapes how you treat other people's past. You are more forgiving because you know people are not their worst moment. Today, almost everything is documented, searchable, permanent. And that changes how people experience growing up. But you experience life before permanence. That leaves a psychological imprint. You understand that identity is fluid, that people evolve, that nothing stays frozen in one version forever. And just when you thought you were finally stepping onto solid ground, the ground moved. You entered adulthood right as the economy collapsed. Jobs disappeared, plans stalled, stability suddenly felt fragile. Many of you watched your parents struggle, or watched friends move back home, or had to accept work far below your expectations. Experiencing uncertainty at that stage of life does not just affect income. It shapes how you relate to security, to risk, to the future itself. Even years later, you might be doing fine now, but somewhere in the background there is still a quiet voice that says, "What if it happens again?" That voice is not weakness, it is memory. So you became independent, adaptable, skeptical, resourceful, but also open-minded. Technically capable, comfortable with change. You learned how to hope without being naive. You learned how to trust without being careless. You hold contradictions without needing to resolve them, because you always have. You know what we gained: instant access, information, connection. But you also remember what we lost: waiting, boredom, silence, being unreachable. You remember when doing nothing did not feel like a problem to solve. That awareness creates perspective. Not superiority, perspective. If you sometimes feel slightly out of place, too analog for some spaces, too digital for others, that is not confusion. That is what growing up between eras feels like. You did not just witness change. You learned how to live inside it. And in a world that keeps shifting faster every year, that may be one of the most valuable skills a person can have. If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments, what is the first moment you remember when you realized the world had changed?